Hello everybody, welcome to the Apacies roadmap. I don't have much in the way of visuals today, so you're just gonna have to deal with this, but I hopefully will keep this relatively short. So for the roadmap of Apacies, I plan on going through each version of the game that I expect to be released until its final version. It's quite far out, so a lot of this will change. I could do an update before one that I had planned, but these are things that I want in the game before release. In the very best case scenario, this could get pushed up, and I spend less time on the game than I would think, and it's released in a more polished state earlier on. So this next update that I'm just starting up now, and that should be released in August, middle of August, is 1.2, Quests, Locations, and Lore. I want quests to be implementable, not implemented. As long as I can have maybe one or two examples in the game, that's good for me. Ideally, there would be something to do in each town, but none of it strictly related to the story of the game. I do want to have locations and lore built up. Sorry about that. So the first thing that I've done is create a storyboard of how I want the story to go. I basically have a rough draft of this in the Apacies PTU session that I have, so if you want to see what the story is going to look like, that's a great place to check it out. A majority of that is going to stick for the game. So locations and lore, I want to bring up Arizona-specific people, some Arizona-specific events, and put them in the game, or at least reference them, if I don't plan on doing so later on in the actual story. So that way it builds out the world a bit more, it shows off the setting, it gets a little bit more believable. 1.3 is battles and interactivity. I want there to be a battle focus, making it more fun, making it look more polished. So abilities and multiple personalities I've been trying to get in for the longest amount of time, but for battles and interactivity I feel like it's gonna be the best. So abilities working similar to Pokemon but having more variation and more choice. I feel like I've explained this before, but I want there to be a random choice between 3 or 1 natures or personalities. That way, you don't think of an Apacies as just having that one trait, like just being hasty or jolly or something. Making them a little bit more well-rounded while still giving them even more change when it comes to their stats, making them more unique. Another overworld Apacies trigger. I think I've mentioned this before as well, where they vibrate a little bit and then launch at you after a short time. I think that would be a little bit more fun, and it's not just running away or coming at you, it's a little bit more involved. There are some ideas of how I'm going to change the movement system and how I'm going to change the menus to make it more interactable. So battles and interactivity is concentrated in the fights and how to aggro the fights, which is why the Apacies overworld, where it launches towards you, is part of it. Personalities aren't actively part of fights, but they contribute to it. That sort of thing. Apacies 1.4. Apacies in the world. Very simply, I want to create a lot of Apacies, and I want to place them in the world a lot. There's not much more focus. It is, I need to work on character design, and I need to work on placement. Because Pokemon's kind of in a stalemate of, oh, we have a mammal, at least one mammal, kind of like a rodent, and a bug, and we'll put them at the beginning. Genius. Nah, I want there to be a little bit more thought about that. Maybe try and create a, in my mind, ecosystem of how these Apacies would interact with each other. Apacies 1.5, world building. So I want to finalize major NPC designs. I want a final version of more generic NPC designs and environmental flourishes. Again, this is more like setting specific areas, referencing specific things and people. It's more of that as I do more research and setting up for the update that follows. Story beats and balance is going to be primarily focused on story dialogue, story quests, and making the final boss encounter. However, I don't plan on connecting that until the last update. Maybe. But I want it to be in the game so that I can continuously balance and make it a good first impression for what the final battle will entail. Balance, so I'm going to have a leveling system that this is where I tweak things in the leveling specific Apacies. We'll work it out from there. 1.7 Apacies Variation and reach 100. Finalize all Apacies designs. Have finished sprites for all of them. Have some attack variation. At least if I keep the 3 particle effects, I want them to change color with the type of attack. Small thing, but again, that will lead to a better understanding of what happened. Advanced Apacies idle animation. So instead of just wiggling around like they do in the overworld now, I want them to just kind of go around the map, figuring out what's happening rather than doing that at every frame and just juddering around effectively. Apacies 1.8, character visuals and interesting locations. So town-specific buildings, this is going to take a while to build up. If you're familiar with the Arizona area, I'd like San Javier and Tumacacari to be actually around, and those are going to take a little bit to design. But specific locations are going to need specific sprites, and this is where I want to implement those. Finalize all NPC designs, so that includes like side characters, reoccurring characters, not just the simple ones that I can place anywhere, and extra hidden locations. So I want to reward players that go off and explore to different areas, and I want there to be hints and bonuses, maybe specific Apacies that you can't find anywhere else, hidden away so that you have to go out and find them. 1.9 Musical and visual effects. I plan to have advanced sound effects that are implemented throughout the menu system in the game. We'll figure out how that goes. I'm still relatively new when it comes to adding in effects wherever I want. It's similar to animations. I'm not familiar with these pretty much at all, so this will have to be a learning process. Finalize particle effects. I'm specifically referring to when your Apacies gets a status affliction. I feel like those sprites are a little bit childlike, and I want to work on those. However, for the time being, they're more than functional, so I'm perfectly fine keeping these in. Possible Apacies battle animations, this is going to have to work with the funding of the game. So if I'm able to get rather funded and spend more time on this project, I would like there to be at least, not specific animations, but something like they reel back, they launch forward, maybe the sprite rotates a little bit when it's happy or something. I want there to be some tells and make battle more fun to look at. And lastly, on release, that update's going to be polish and user requests. Like through Patreon, once you reach a certain amount, you're able to request things inside of the game. I want there to be a major focus on fulfilling all of those and polishing up. Again, this could be tweaking levels, this could be finding any bugs, finding visual glitches. I want to spend a good amount of time making a good finalized product before release. Now, all of these updates until this one have been planned to have a 2-month release cycle. This one has a 4-month just in case, and so that I can put every finishing touch I can on this project. When worked out with 2 months and then this final one being 4 months, this should be released in the middle of February, and I'm hoping on the 14th. I'd love to have an Arizona-centric game released on Arizona's birthday. I hope you've enjoyed my thought process on how the updates are going to go. I hope now that you're a little bit better informed, maybe you'd be so willing to support me in either Patreon. I'm going to see if I can set up something that's a one-time payment, but maybe just PayPal. I'd really appreciate any help I can get on this project. This is going to take a long time. This is not next February. This is a year from February that I'm planning to have release. So looking at that, I'm realizing I'm gonna have to spend another 1.5 years on the project. So please, if you wouldn't mind helping out or spreading the word, I would love to have people play the game, support the game, and spread the game. I suck at marketing, so I don't know how that will go. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night.